Holy cow. Welcome back. What a shit show this last week has been in my world. OMG. Like, seriously, you thought last week was crazy with Crystal on? There's some things that I have to get off of my chest, and the only way to do it is through this. And you know what? I'm going to say this again. I don't say things that I say to offend people or hurt people. Like, if it offends you, it probably applies to you. But the thing is, this is my podcast, and I get to say whatever the freak I want to say on my own podcast. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen. Okay? So I'm going to start out with that disclaimer. So if you get butthurt easily, go ahead and shut this down because you're not going to want to hear this one. Oh, and if you like to tell other people what I'm talking about, maybe shut this down too. Because it only causes strife in our family when you do that. If you have something to say, pick up the phone and ask me. Send me a message, call me, whatever it is you need to do so we can clear the air, okay? And if the person you're telling that I've said something regarding is not privy to this podcast or they don't listen to it, why don't you just leave it like that instead of, causing strife? It's happened more than once, so it's not just one incident, it's multiple. But I'm happy to discuss anything that you don't like that I say or whatever it may be. Please reach out because I will be happy to have a conversation with you. And some people already know that. Some people are actually pretty great about it. Okay, so as you can see, if you look in the, that'll be your left, I believe. It's my right of my screen. You will see a baby bird. That is Harold. So I'm going to tell you a little story. This is kind of a hodgepodge today, okay? So I've got a lot of different things to talk about, and I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. Harold has been incredible. Harold is a baby robin redbreast, from what we can tell. Harold, about a week and a half ago, oh gosh, there's something else I have to tell y'all about. I just had to make a note. Okay, so this story might be a little bit longer than I thought. All right, so Harold, Danny and I go for a walk in our neighborhood every morning. Sometimes I go without him. Sometimes he goes with me. Never know. This particular morning, he was with me. And I was like, what is that in the road? And we looked down. Danny's like, oh my God, it's a baby bird. It was literally a baby bird in the middle of the road. And I don't know how he got hit other than there were cars parked on the right-hand side of the street, or the left-hand side of the street, actually. And so the way people were driving to not hit that car, they basically straddled over Harold, right? If you want to go check out my Instagram and Facebook page, Instagram's, I think it's AJ Damscove, and Facebook is Allison Judd Damscove. But there's tons of stories about Harold and reels and all kinds of stuff. So Harold was this little itty bitty bird, right? And we put him up in the bushes, thinking, okay, maybe his parents will come get him. And then I came home and I told Gage about him, and of course Gage went and got him and picked him up. Well, shortly, and brought him home. I don't know what story I should lead into. That actually leads into the next story, and then I'll get back to Harold. So there are times in life to react and times in life not to react. And I think there were a lot of lessons learned this week. So we walk our neighborhood all the time, and we walk our neighborhood, especially, and I've never lived in a neighborhood like this, but our neighborhood especially is graded for drainage. And so if you walk in the middle of the street, it's flat, but as you move to the outer edges of the street, it's more rounded. So it hurts my ankles because I can feel the difference, right? So most of the time we walk in the middle of the street. I mean, we're happy to move over when cars are coming. The street that we live on is like a cut-through street, right? And so people have a tendency that they're late for work in the morning, or actually we don't live on the street that's cut through street, but it's the one next to us that we walk on. And people come through there, they're hauling ass, right? And it's like 30 miles an hour through a neighborhood and they're going 45, 50. And so, you know, we do what most people do is like in your neighborhood is like hold your hand up, be like, hey, slow down, you know? Well, this particular morning, Danny and I both did that, like, hey, slow down. And this guy started like speeding up, like it pissed him off. And we were like, what the hell? So Danny moved out of the way and the guy sped up and went faster by us. Well, my husband, being the person that he is, flipped this guy off. And he held that bird long enough to make sure that this guy saw him in his rearview mirror. Y'all, this dude, and this is why I tell my husband all the time, you never know what kind of day someone's having and how they can react, right? And why it's always just better to be kind than anything. This guy, and the streets were wet, right? He threw his truck, he slammed on his brakes, he slid probably a full house length, right? Slammed on his brakes, hit reverse, backed up, and he was like sliding while he was backing up. And I'm on the phone with Gage telling him about Harold and where Harold is. And all of a sudden I see this guy backing up and here, and I'm like, Gage, call 911. Like, I don't know what's fixing to happen. I don't know what's fixing to go down. Just call 911, tell him to get here. And this guy backed up so fast that he slammed both of his wheels of his truck, the driver's side wheels of his truck, like trying to, like, I don't know what he was doing, like fast and furious, like backing in. He was pissed off and he was trying to get out of the middle of the road and like almost like he was parallel parking, but at, you know, in reverse at 40 miles an hour. It was ridiculous, right? There's still scrape marks on the concrete on the curb from where his wheels like scraped the curb. That's how bad it was. And he gets out of the car and he starts coming at my husband. Well, we both carry. Because this world is unpredictable, and I've had dogs come at me in this neighborhood that aren't on leashes and try to attack me. And so I will not be caught without a way to defend myself if I have to, whether that be animal or person. And I'm a huge animal lover, as you can see Harold over here to the side. Anyway, this guy like got out of his truck and started yelling. He was coming at my husband. And I don't know if I was prepared for that or ever thought I would see anything like that, but my husband's going to protect us to no end, especially with some guy like acting like that, right? I mean, sure, maybe he shouldn't have flipped him off, but somebody's reaction like that is a little, it's a little uncalled for. Anyway, the guy ended up getting back in his truck and leaving. And it turns out it wasn't even a cut-through person. It was someone that lives in our neighborhood, which is even scarier, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, well, what if this guy retaliates when I'm out walking by myself? Or what if he retaliates when Danny's walking or when we're both walking or whatever? And so I just went home. I didn't finish the walk. I got on the treadmill and walked out some of the anxiety. But the reality is, like, I didn't pull my weapon. I went and hid behind a tree. I'm a fraidy cat. I mean, that's the thing, is like I put on this tough exterior. I do not like confrontation. I do not like physical fights. I do not like arguments. I do not like any of those things. And so I told my husband, I said, well, you can be very clear when the shit hits the fan, you know where I'm going to be, which is like hiding behind a tree. And his response, I thought for a minute when I said that he was going to say something like, yeah, you're a big wuss or whatever. You didn't have my back. But what he said shocked me. He said, that's exactly where you needed to be. And then I didn't have to worry about you, right? And I was like, I never even thought about it that way. I just felt like I was letting him down. So no more incidents, right? So far, everything's okay. Knock on wood. That was a couple of Fridays ago, and that was scary. It was a really scary moment, and like I said, we all learn lessons, right? The lesson I learned is that I know exactly where I'm going to go when the shit goes down, and I know that my husband's going to protect me and himself. But it's scary when you can't see somebody, right? You can't see their hands, you can't see what they have, so it's just instinct. And my husband's also been trained. I felt safe, you know. I'm still processing that a little bit. Sorry for the pauses, but you think about how you would handle that, and how would you handle that situation. So, over the truck guy, let's get back to Harold. So Gage brought Harold home, and he put Harold in this little tank, and we've figured out, like, we did some research. We looked at what we fed Harold. He could have like mashed up dog food, so we softened some dog food, ran it through a Ninja blender, got a syringe, and started feeding him that way. He ate really, really well. He's been with us for a week and a half. Feels like a lot longer than a week and a half, but I think it's only been about a week and a half he's been with us. He is sweetness. He is precious. He is turning into a little teenager. He's eating mealworms by himself. I never, ever, ever thought that I would have to cut earthworms in half, but that happened. Oh, he just took off flying. I don't know where he went. Where did you go, Harold? Oh, there you are. Okay, so he's on, if y'all are watching, he's on the back of the chair now. I don't know if you can see him or not, but that's where he is. We'll just let Harold stay there where he wants to, because he does a little bit of what he wants all the time now. We're a few days from letting him go, but we wanted to be sure that he could eat on his own. So he is eating mealworms by himself, not being hand-fed, which is really good. He needs to fly. He needs to go be with all the other red robins, or robin redbreasts, and I hate keeping him cooped up, but I also want to make sure that he's got a chance to make it, So he's doubled, almost tripled in size. I guess he's gonna roost on my pillow over there, and he's probably gonna poop on it too. It is what it is. I'm gonna have to disinfect my house before this is all over. But I'll tell you, I think God knew that I needed a distraction. So there's a lot of things happening. Just a lot of things happening. I had and that same day, so the same day we found Harold was the same day that the guy with the truck happened. And when we were walking back, or maybe it was the next day we were walking, I had a friend call me, and she said, I have to let you know something. And I said, what? And she said, I just need to tell you that my brother shot his wife last night, and he killed himself. And that is a shocking, traumatic experience to go through. She is still handling all of those things, and the wife is okay. She did survive what happened. They don't know all the details. But scary, right? I mean, I don't know. Just like, what the freak was happening last week? Somebody said something about there was a lunar eclipse, and then the full moon, and then Mercury was in retrograde. I don't know. Like, there was some shit that went down, and they said it should all calm down by the 15th of this month. But this last week was, like I said, it was like a shit show. Like, it was like everything that could go wrong went wrong. You know, there were some good things happening, but, you know, even like I got messages from people on my team basically telling me that I'm not enough for them, that I'm a piece of shit, and that I'm not a good leader, and all of those things. And I have to know, you know, first of all, I have to know that I'll never be enough for everybody. I can't, and I'm such a people pleaser, so it's hard to hear some of that stuff. It's hard to read it. And you know, the thing is, like, the first person I got a message from, I did everything that I could. I did everything that I thought was possible in my human possible being to make sure that person felt loved and noticed, and it wasn't enough. And then another message that I got, she had no freaking idea what she was talking about. She had no clue what she was talking about. She was talking out her ass is what she was doing. And then there was another one that's a friend of hers, and I guess they decided to gang up on me, and I didn't even open the message because I'm not even going to waste my time with stuff like that. They didn't know what they were talking about. And like I said in the beginning, if it offends you, it probably applies to you. Maybe you were offended because you can't make that kind of contribution to the situation that was happening. But I can guarantee you this. I think more about other people a million times over before I ever think about myself. And if you knew anything about me and you knew my heart, you would know that, because one of the things I say in this podcast is everything you do affects everyone around you in one way or another. So I always consider how it's going to affect other people before I say something, before I word it, before I do whatever. But I also have to know that I can't make everybody happy. It is not physically possible, and I've been trying to do it for years. And let me tell you something, it fucking sucks. I'm just going to say it. I'm not even supposed to say that word on here, but it sucks. It sucks trying to please everybody. And if you're one of those people that's trying to please everybody, we need to stop it, because it's not possible. We are putting an expectation on ourselves that is not humanly, physically, mentally possible. I'm not going to carry that stuff with me because it's trash, right? People don't understand all of the situation when they comment on things, or they tell you how the cow ate the cabbage or whatever. But man, you know what pisses me off the most is that these people claim to be Christians. And that's my biggest problem with an organized religion, is that you cannot possibly be a Christian and try to make someone feel that bad about themselves. It's not possible, because that's not what Jesus would do. Ever. Am I perfect? No. Am I guilty of that? Yes. In my younger years, yes, absolutely, for sure. And I am the first person that if I ever make a mistake, I will be the first person. If I'm wrong, I will say I am wrong, and I will apologize. I do not have a problem with that. But I wasn't wrong in this situation. Not even in the least bit, not even a little bit. My intentions came from a pure, good place, only thinking about someone else and not myself. So, screw you to that person that sent me that message. I hope someone tells you that I said that. I hope you're listening, because how dare you do that to another human being? Y'all, watch what you say to people. Think about what you're saying before you say it. And if you need to tell someone you think they're a piece of shit, or you think they're handling something wrong, maybe have a conversation and make sure you have all the details before you do something like that. Yeah. I had someone's back in that moment, And if we're a team, you definitely didn't have my back as many times as I've had your back. So now part of that is on that teammate, right? Part of that is on the person that I had her back, because she poisoned her team because there were some personal issues for a little while. But it'll all come out in the wash. I'm a firm believer in that. It will all come out in the wash, and it's not even going to be me that's going to put it out in the wash, you know. And I want to say to the person that I called that day, a guy on my team, I want to say thank you. Thank you for talking to me that day. Thank you for listening to me that day. Thank you for all of it. Because I don't know if I would have made it through. I mean, I would have made it through it, right? But I needed what you had to give in that moment. And so thank you for that. Thank you for being there for me. And thank you for having my back. Because that's what we do as teams, right? And we have each other's backs. So there's that. Next thing. And this is going to go back into the beginning of this podcast. If you listen to this podcast and you run and tattle to someone that I said something about, here's the thing. First and foremost, I only talk about facts on here, or how it has affected me or happened to me. I have never lied on here. I have never, what's the word? I've never exaggerated the truth. And if you know something about one thing about me, I'm not a liar. I will tell it to you as straight as I can. And even sometimes you don't want to know the truth, but I tell it to you, right? Because you ask. So if you don't ever want to know the answer to something, don't ask me. My mother and I have a very tumultuous relationship. And it has been that way for a very long time. And I've mentioned her on here several times. I love my mom. But I don't know who my mom is anymore. I think that mentally she's not okay. And I don't know if that's age. I don't know if it's dementia setting in at 71 years old. I don't know what it is. I love my mom, but I don't know who this woman is right now. She's a very lonely, sad, angry individual, and I can't fix her life for her. And she has a surgery planned. And 2 days before her surgery, I gave her the dates that I would be out of town, that I would not be able to be here. And she literally scheduled the surgery for the day that we come back from Mexico. Like, we don't even get home till midnight that night. So she was concerned with how she was going to get to the surgery, how she was going to do all the things. And she couldn't just leave her car in the parking lot for a week. And what was she going to do? And I was like, if we just change the surgery, we can, fix all of this, and I'll be here for you. I don't want you to have surgery without me being there. So, and she was determined to do it her way. And there was part of me that wanted to let her. But the other part of me knew that if I did that it would be her telling everyone, oh, well, no one was there to help me. No one could help me. No one was available to help me. And she told on herself a little bit in the doctor's office today. She said, well, I have someone that could drive me. I just don't want to ask them. See, there's a big difference between having help and not asking for help, and not having any help at all. And I think her reality is skewed, very much so. I know she's in pain. I know she has to have this surgery. And it's not going to be easy. it's not going to be easy for any of us because she struggles. But I went with her to her doctor's appointment today. And we're sitting in the room. And I don't, you know how they talk about don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? And my mother does not feel welcomed and loved by my husband. My mom is my mom, right? I have lived with my mom's crazy from day one. So it's normal to me, right? My husband has zero tolerance for it. It's very difficult for him. It's very difficult for him to watch what she does to me on a regular basis emotionally. And I remind myself that it's a mental illness, right? But here's my mother's expectation. My mother's expectation is when she walks in the door that everybody drops everything they're doing and run to her and smile and hug her and tell her how much they love her and they're so glad she's here. The problem with that is she's been so ugly to people so much, so many times, that people don't want to do that. They don't want to run up to her and hug her, right? It's almost to the point where it's tolerated. And I hate to say that. I really hate to say that, but where she is just tolerated, right? And that's sad. Like, nobody should be at that point in their life. But when you're that miserable and you act that helpless and you have such a hard time, I mean, that's the thing. It's so hard because my mom would give somebody the shirt off her back. My mom would give somebody the last dollar to her name to help someone. But it'll come at a price. You better make sure you said thank you 50 times or you're not grateful enough. My mom has helped me out of places that I never thought I would be. But how long do I have how long do I owe her for that? For the rest of my life? I love my mom. I will be here through all of it to the ends of the earth for my mom. But my husband doesn't have to tolerate it. And because of that, my mom doesn't like him. And so we're sitting in this doctor's office. And she starts, it's the little snide comments. You know, it's the snide shit that's said. And it's just like, wow, you know, I'm sitting here with you, taking time out of my day to bring you to the doctor to find out about your surgery and what I need to do to take care of you. And you're gonna shit on my husband right now. Because you didn't like his greeting yesterday for Mother's Day. You know what? My husband bought your dinner last night out of his paycheck. That didn't come out of our business account. That was out of his paycheck. You know what else my husband did? Mom, my husband bought your flowers. He picked them out for you because he knows that you like the coral color roses, and he picked out flowers for you for Mother's Day. So I have to remind myself with my mother that just because someone doesn't love you the way you want them to doesn't mean they don't love you with all they have. And I know that's how it is for her, right? I know she loves us, but she's just got her own shit, you know? And I'm sorry that you're lonely, and I'm sorry that this is the life you're having to live, but the choices that you've made over the last 40 years is what's gotten you where you are. And that's not my fault. And it's honestly not my problem. I love you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do all the things for you that I'm supposed to do as a daughter. But man, you make it hard to want to be around. And maybe some of you can relate to this. Maybe some of you have a very narcissistic parent. And maybe some of you that are listening know my mom and you think I'm horrible for saying this. But here's the other thing I'm going to point out to those of you listening that know my mom. One of the things she keeps telling me is everybody agrees with me about your husband. You don't know shit about my husband. When have you been to my house around my dinner table and seen how my husband treats me and my children? My husband is a good man. My husband is a protector. My husband is a provider. And I should not have to defend my husband to you or to my mother. That's a fact. My husband loves me more and harder than anybody has in my entire life. And you know what? I can count on him. Every damn time I can count on my husband. Some of you think that my husband is controlling because that's the picture that my mom's put out there, right? Because she doesn't like him, so she doesn't want other people to like him. And he's not controlling. Let me tell you something. I've had to be independent since I was 16 years old, since my mom decided to move out and go live with her boyfriend and leave me and my brother at my grandmother's house while my grandmother lived with her boyfriend. Okay? I've been on my own since then. So let's be real clear about something. I've had a lifetime. Until I was 32 years old and met my husband, I've had a lifetime of independence. And you know what? It sure is nice to shrug some of that responsibility off onto someone else and let someone else make some of the decisions for a little while in life. My husband and I are partners. We walk side by side. We walk hand in hand. We make decisions together. I always told him, I said, you'll never wear the pants in this family because I want a partner, but I'll be happy to share the pant legs with you, right? So we each have a pant leg. But there's some things that as a woman, I do submit to my husband because I want to. Because those are the things that he's supposed to do for me. As a husband, that's part of the definition of a husband, is for him to stand up for me and protect me and love me. And even if that means protecting me against my own family, if that's what that means, great. That's what he's going to do. Because he's a good man. And I love him. Oh my God, I love him. I can't even put into words what kind of love that is. Nothing like I've ever felt in my life, this kind of love. You know, barring Channing Tatum, because Channing Tatum's hot and Danny knows that that's my free pass. Like if it ever comes down to it, Channing Tatum, that's it, right? I've never looked another man's way in 15 years because I've never needed to. That's how good my husband is to me. And that's how well I'm treated. So if any of you have any questions about my relationship with my husband, you're welcome to message me or pick up the phone and call me and ask me yourself, and I'll be happy to tell you all about it. But when people are trying to talk about other people, and I know it seems like that's what I'm doing here, and I'm not trying to sound I can't even think of the word condescending, maybe. But maybe the people that are talking about the other people are the problem, right? I don't know. These are just my thoughts today, and I know it's a lot, and I know it's heavy. But I want you to know that I have a great life. I have great kids. I have a great husband. I have a great bird named Harold and a bearded dragon named Toothless and 2 dogs, Kira and Indy. We have a great life. Do we have struggles? Yes. Oh my God, we're human. We're human beings. We fight, we make up, we kiss, we, well, I mean, we broke up a long time ago. You already know that story if you're listening from the beginning. But we're human beings, right? We're all going to make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But hell, we love each other, right? Isn't that enough? And so all I can keep thinking is if it offends you, it applies to you. And the only thing that keeps coming to my mind is that, like, I have the life that my mom used to have. I have the life that my mom used to live, and she lost all of that because of her choices. So I have to ask myself, like, is it just jealousy? Is that what it is? Does she not like him because she's jealous of the relationship that I have, that I don't spend all this time with her? Like, I don't know, get a hobby, go find people to hang out with your age, go find some love and some friends in your life, and don't dump all over your damn friends. Don't verbally vomit on them and leave them hanging on the phone and just, go about your day. It's not okay. I don't know if this is any more insight. And I honestly, after sitting here thinking about this, I don't know if I'll actually post this or not. But I at least had to get it out. I may post it. I may not. But I don't know if any of you are feeling this way, but I want to say it again. Everything that you do affects everyone around you in one way or another. So think about how you're going to say something to someone and make sure that you have all the facts surrounding what you're going to say. And if it's not your personal relationship, stay out of it. Mind your own business. And if someone starts talking to you about someone else's relationship, change the subject. Because nobody actually knows what's going on in that relationship except for the two people that are in it. And if you knew how hard I fought for this, how hard I did not want to be. I mean, that's the whole reason I didn't marry Gage's dad. Oh, God, I didn't even get to talk about that. Let's talk about graduation. That's the whole reason I didn't marry. Let me back up. That's the whole reason I didn't marry Gage's dad, because I knew I would end up divorced. And I did not want to be married and divorced 3 times like my mom. So I waited a really long time. I was 32 years old before I got married to Danny. So let's talk about graduation. Thank you to those who came and showed up. There were only a few of us. And Gage's dad didn't show up because Gage's boyfriend Braden was here. And he was here to support his boyfriend and cheer him on and cheer for him. And he wouldn't have missed his graduation for the world. Braden's a good kid. He's a good guy. Good. Right? He didn't show up because this is Gage's dad. He's the most selfish person. And I sent him a message that day and I said, please, for once in your life, for the love of God, make a decision that's not about you. Make a decision that is for someone else. Just be there. That's all you have to do, is just be there for your son. And he couldn't do it. And it's no different than him leaving me in the hospital the night Gage was born because he was pissed off and he was high and whatever, right? And he was all in his feelings. Grow up, Mike. Your son is never going to be what you want him to be. And you know what? You're never going to be what he wants you to be either. He just wants you to love him. But the simple fact that you said to him on the phone, did your mama hug you too much? Is that what's wrong with you? Is that why you're gay? But you can't even make this shit up, people. I'm not even kidding you. That's what he said to him. How sickening to say that to your child. Did your mom? And Gage's response was, no, my mom wasn't too affectionate and didn't love me too much. There's nothing wrong with me. If you have a child going through hard times, or you have a child that's come to you and said that they're gay, they like boys, they like girls, whatever. You know, the crazy thing is, this would be a totally different situation if Gage were a girl and he liked another girl. It'd be a totally different situation. It'd be totally accepted. But this bullshit right here, watching my son try not to fall apart, oh my gosh. This man just ruined I'm sorry, he's not even a man. This person just ruined his relationship with his son. Over what? Who he loves? Man, you got a lot of growing up to do. A lot of growing up to do. Someone I talked to recently said something to me, and it resonated. If your child were laying in a coffin, would you see a gay person or would you see your child? Interesting thing to think about, right? And that question was asked. I would see my son. No questions asked. I would see my son. And that's how his dad should see it. But like I said, Gage is never going to be what Mike wants him to be, and Mike is never going to be what Gage wants him to be. And it's just so frustrating. It's so hard to watch as a mom. It's so hard to watch your kids hurt from dads that, and then he reiterates to him that he loves him. I mean, he doesn't. That's not love. That's not love. That's conditional love. Parents are supposed to have unconditional love. I'm going to love my kid no matter what. No matter what. And you know what? He knows that. And I guess that's really all we need to know. And Danny's the same. Danny's going to love our kids no matter what. So I guess that says something about us as human beings. Anyway, I'm going to hop off here. It's been long enough. I'm sure you're tired of hearing my thoughts, but thanks for letting me get them out today. I'll have another guest on next week, and look forward to the comments. And I mean, tell me what you got. What are your thoughts on this? I'd love to know. Seriously, on any of it. You know, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? What do you think? Just be kind about it. I'm open to having a conversation with anybody. Anyway, peace out, homies. See y'all later.